Good morning, IB, to Madam Azni and to my fellow friends. Today, I would like to talk about why capital punishment should not be the answer for crimes. Before I begin, I would like to ask you, do you know this person? I assume you don't. Back in 2005, Hafiz Ibrahim was accused of a crime he didn't commit. He was taken to a small yard in a Yemeni prison and brought before a row of officers with rifles in hand and faced a firing squad. He thought that moment would be his last. Just before he was about to be shot, he was taken back to his cell, literally with no explanation. I was lost. I didn't understand what was happening. He later learned that Amnesty International had called on the Yemeni president to stop his execution, and the message was heard. However, in 2007, Hafiz was about to be executed again when he sent a mobile text message to Amnesty and telling them that he was about to be executed. Luckily, it was a message that saved his life. The message sparked an international campaign persuading the president to stop the execution for a second time. Now, Hafiz is a lawyer who is helping juveniles who languish on death row corridors across Yemen. He stated that he owes his life to Amnesty. Now, he dedicated that life to campaigning against the death penalty. Ladies and gentlemen, based on this story, I want to ask you, is this justice? We can see countless innocent lives out there who are facing the same risk every single day. In Hafiz's case, he was lucky to be fair, while others out there could be punished for the crime they didn't commit. This is the reason why I want to change your perspective on capital punishment. Yes, I agree that those who commit crimes that deserve capital punishment, such as rape and murder, should be punished accordingly. That immoral act cannot be tolerated and compromised. But if you think about it, capital punishment is not the answer. Why is that? Firstly, it does not deter the crime. For crimes of different kinds across the world, nobody has been able to conclusively say that death penalty is an effective deterrent. The research that does exist gives mixed signals. It appears as though that call for the death penalty is more an outcome of outrage than of serious thought on what can change the prevailing situation. Governments that want to look like they are tough on crime are quick to respond to this call, especially in countries like India, where the certainty of punishment is relatively low and legal trials are often harder on victims than on the accused, leading to them withdrawing the case. Simply changing the quantum of punishment is a few famous incidents is unlikely to deter others, as most cases either languish in the courts or dismissed due to lack of evidence. Even the Justice J.S. Verma Committee, set up after 2012 Jyoti Singh gang rape and murder, did nothing. Adding the death penalty to rape cases was a way to make India safer for women. The fact that it doesn't prevent crime may be the most significant reason why the death penalty is wrong. Many people might believe that while the death penalty isn't ideal, it is worth it if it dissuaded potential criminals. However, polls show people don't think capital punishment does that. There are other factors at play, but the fact remains that no studies show that capital punishment is a deterrent. If the death penalty is not only inhuman, discriminatory, and arbitrary, but it often claims innocent lives and doesn't even prevent crime, then why should it still exist? Dear ladies and gentlemen, we must remember that the individual who committed that act is a human being as well. To conclude, as citizens of a developed and educated country, we must examine why capital punishment is ineffective and unjustified, and instead invest in correctional facilities and try to modify the inmates' thinking through a series of intensive counseling sessions.
Then we move on to our next point, which is capital punishment bring more harm than good to society, because more chances of murder and violence will increase, as once it is clear that the death penalty is highly probable in rare cases such as rape, it may in fact have the opposite impact, because instead of acting as a deterrent, it could lead to perpetrators making sure that the victims are left dead or in no state to lodge complaint or to even recognize the perpetrators. It is discriminatory. The weight of the death penalty is disproportionately carried by those with less advantaged socioeconomic backgrounds or even belonging to a certain racial, ethnic, or religious minorities. This includes having a limited access to legal representation, for example, or being at greater disadvantage in the experience of the criminal justice systems. And problems with retributive justice also is the cause that as it brings more harm to the good to the society, because multiple reports from India have shown that criminal justice systems mirror the biases of society, including against weaker sections who cannot afford expensive lawyers or to appeal their cases in higher courts. A study from earlier this year, for instance, found that the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes are overrepresented in Indian prisons. In addition, 3/4 of death row prisoners in India are from lower castes or religious minorities. In Madhya Pradesh, for instance, since a new law was introduced in February 2018, allowing the death sentence for those who rape minors, most of those convicted have been from poor backgrounds and have used state-sponsored legal aid for their defense, and is often used within skewed justice systems. In many cases recorded by Amnesty International, people were executed after being convicted in grossly unfair trials on the basis of torture-tainted evidence with inadequate legal representation. In some countries, death sentences are imposed as the mandatory punishment for certain offences, meaning that judges are not able to consider the circumstances of the crime or the defendant before sentencing. So, to strengthen my statement, it is against the Human Rights Act Protocol 13, Article 1, abolition of the death penalty, which state that sentencing a person to death is a violation of the right of life and the right to freedom from torture and inhuman or degrading treatment. Our right not to be tortured or treated in an inhuman or degrading way is absolute. In this case, death penalty is considered torture and inhuman treatment. Therefore, no one shall be condemned or face such penalty or execution. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the reasons why we urge every one of you to support the effort to abolish the death penalty or capital punishment, as we know, for good, because it has long been used as a tool for those opportunists who think they are above the law, because it does not deter crime and often brings more harm than good to the society. So, we can contribute by supporting Amnesty International, which is an organization that defends human rights. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all from us. I hope we managed to persuade and change your perspectives on capital punishment and why it must be abolished internationally. Thank you for lending your ears and have a good day.